Jay-Z just got hit with the one thing he's been avoiding for over a decade, and it might destroy everything he's built. Because as of right now, a judge has officially ruled that the paternity case against him can move forward, and if he doesn't respond by the July 18th deadline, the court might finally force him to take that DNA test. But here's where it gets messier. 50 Cent. Yes, that 50 is reportedly paying for the entire legal battle. Not out of charity, but because he wants to expose Jay-Z in an upcoming documentary that ties him to the same underground world as Diddy. And at the center of it all, a 32-year-old man who claims he's Jay-Z's secret son, with a mother who allegedly met HOV when she was just 16. This isn't just a scandal. This could unravel the entire Carter empire. For years, the world had no idea who Rymir was, but behind closed doors, he was fighting one of the most powerful men in music. Not for fame, not for money, but for the truth. Rymir has always claimed he's not chasing a payout. He's just trying to prove what he's believed his entire life. That Sean Jay-Z Carter is his biological father. He filed his first lawsuit over a decade ago, at just 19 years old. Since then, he's been buried in paperwork, legal setbacks, and media silence. But even with all the roadblocks, Rymir never backed down. And when you look at him, the resemblance is hard to ignore. The facial structure, the mannerisms. People online have pointed out that he looks more like Jay-Z than Jay-Z's own son. But this isn't just about DNA. Because what Rymir's mother claimed before her death makes the story even darker. According to Rymir's late mother, Wanda, the story begins in the early 1990s, back when Jay-Z was still hustling in the streets of Brooklyn, years before Reasonable Doubt ever dropped. Wanda claimed she met Jay-Z in Philadelphia when she was just 16 years old. And while Jay-Z was already in his 20s at the time, she said their relationship quickly turned physical. But here's where it crosses a line. According to reports, Jay-Z never disclosed his real name to her. He gave her an alias. And after just a few encounters, he allegedly disappeared, completely. Wanda would later find out she was pregnant. And despite raising Rymir as a single mother, she always told him the same thing. Your father is Jay-Z. Now, these are her claims, and Jay-Z has never publicly responded to them. But what makes the story hard to ignore is what happened when they tried to bring it to court. Because when Rymir and his legal team tried to serve Jay-Z with a DNA test order, he never showed up. Not once. And the reasons why, they only add fuel to the fire. For most people, a paternity test is simple. You take the test and it's either yes or no. But when it comes to Jay-Z, nothing has been simple. According to Rymir's legal filings, Jay-Z has repeatedly avoided DNA testing. His team argued there was no valid reason to participate, claiming the court had no jurisdiction and that the evidence was insufficient. But here's where things get suspicious. Rymir's mother did submit DNA, but according to documents, the DNA sample wasn't even hers. Somehow, a sample from a completely different woman was submitted on her behalf. A woman who, to this day, no one knows. Even worse, that false DNA submission was enough to get the case thrown out for years. Rymir believes this wasn't a simple mistake. He believes it was a deliberate move to shut the case down before it ever reached Jay-Z. And for over a decade, it worked. But everything changed this year, when the case was reopened. And someone with serious money, and a long-standing grudge, stepped in to help expose the truth. If there's one person who's never been afraid to go after Jay-Z, it's 50 Cent. He's taken shots at nearly every major figure in hip-hop, but this time it's personal. According to inside sources, 50 Cent has allegedly been funding Rymir's legal fight behind the scenes. Why? Because he's planning something massive. A full-length documentary that not only exposes Jay-Z's alleged secret son, but ties him to a web of high-profile scandals, including the same elite circles that Diddy is now being investigated for. And this isn't just speculation. Rymir himself confirmed in a recent interview that he's been approached by documentary producers, and 50 Cent's name keeps coming up. Some believe 50 doesn't care about the paternity case itself. He just wants to watch Jay-Z squirm. Others say he sees this as an opportunity to finally take down a rival who's long held the crown. Whatever the motive, one thing is clear. With 50 Cent's money and media power behind Rymir, this story isn't going away quietly. And just when you think it couldn't get more twisted, there's a rumor that another massive figure was involved in hiding the truth. For years, Beyoncé has stayed silent. No public comments, no interviews, nothing. But according to whispers from inside the industry, she may have known about Rymir all along, and may have played a role in keeping it quiet. One report from a former Roc Nation associate claims Beyoncé was furious when she first found out about the alleged child. Not because of the child himself, but because of the threat it posed to her and Jay-Z's image as hip-hop royalty. She's worked her entire career to build a clean legacy, the source said. A love child would destroy that brand overnight. It's even been suggested that behind the scenes, Beyoncé's legal team had private conversations with Rymir's people, allegedly offering money to quietly drop the case. Now, to be clear, those claims have never been proven. But Rymir says he was warned repeatedly, by unnamed people, to leave it alone or face serious consequences. And when his mother passed away suddenly under questionable circumstances, the warnings got louder. At one point, Rymir even claimed he feared for his life. And if that's not disturbing enough, the final piece of this puzzle might be the most damning of all. Earlier this year, a bombshell dropped. A judge unsealed parts of Rymir's decades-long paternity case, and what those documents revealed raised more questions than answers. First, it confirmed that Jay-Z had been named in the case as early as 2011. And not just named, served. Multiple times. Yet, his legal team continued to argue that he had never been properly notified. Second, it showed that court communications were sealed under unusual circumstances, raising eyebrows among legal analysts. Why would a routine paternity suit be treated like a state secret? Then came the most bizarre twist. At one point in the filings, Jay-Z's team allegedly submitted legal documents using an alias, a false identity, in an attempt to prevent the case from being tracked publicly. This tactic worked for years, keeping Rymir's fight buried in paperwork and legal delays. And now, the court has finally ruled that Rymir has the right to pursue the DNA test again. This isn't just about paternity anymore. It's about cover-ups, power, and a desperate attempt to protect an image at all costs. But for Rymir, it's always been simpler than that. He doesn't want money. He doesn't want fame. He just wants the truth. Rymir Satterthwaite didn't ask to be born into this chaos. He grew up without a father, clinging to a story his mother told him, that the most powerful man in hip-hop might be his dad. For most of his life, that story was ignored, laughed at, or buried by lawyers with bottomless budgets. But now, after more than a decade of silence, red tape, and what many believe were calculated distractions, the truth is clawing its way to the surface. If a court orders a DNA test and Jay-Z refuses, it won't just be a legal matter anymore. It'll be a public reckoning, one that could shake his carefully curated legacy to its core. And with 50 Cent allegedly bankrolling a tell-all documentary, Beyoncé's silence raising eyebrows, and unsealed documents revealing potential fraud and deception, it's no longer just a paternity case. It's a story about power, control, and what billionaires will do to keep their image clean. Rymir isn't asking for fame. He isn't asking for money. He just wants the world to know what he's always believed deep down, that Jay-Z is his father, and it's time the truth came out.